Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Pine Grove Briar, where history meets humor and pipe smoke weaves through the legends of the past. I'm your host, and today we're trekking deep into the mountains to unravel one of the Wild West's grittiest legends. A man known as Liver-Eatin Johnson, a mountain man, Civil War veteran, and a man who sparked fear in anyone foolish enough to cross him. We're talking vengeance, tall tales, and of course, what kind of pipe a guy like that might have smoked while staring down the Rockies? But before we dive into liver eating lore, let's give a big thanks to our friends at the Gatlinburg Tobacconist, found in the Mountain Mall on Level D in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. If you're looking for a place where the aroma of pipe tobacco hits you before you're even through the door, head on over to the Gatlinburg Tobacconist. Whether you're into hearty English blends or a smooth aromatic, they've got something for every pipe enthusiast. Top tier tobacco, classic pipes, and even a cozy space for swapping stories with fellow pipe smokers, just like we're doing today. As a matter of fact, I'm burning the Mountain Vine blend in my briar pipe from the Gatlinburg Tobacconist. Go pay him a visit and tell him the Pine Grove Briar sent you. All right, so let's get into the gritty stuff. John Jeremiah Garrison Johnson, though the world knows him better as Liver-Eatin Johnson, was born around 1824 and started life pretty ordinary. He fought in the Mexican-American War and even served as a sailor before heading west in search of freedom and maybe some peace and quiet. But peace and quiet were pretty hard to come by in the wild frontier. Legend says that after his wife, a member of the Crow Nation, was killed by a rival tribe, Johnson began a one-man vendetta that lasted over a decade. He supposedly tracked down Crow warriors one by one, killed them, and brace yourself, ate their livers as revenge. Reminds me of that scene from Silence of the Lambs, liver and fava beans. Now, whether that gruesome habit was fact or frontier fiction is still up for debate. Some historians think the liberating reputation was an exaggeration that snowballed into legend. Others claim it was Johnson's brutal way of striking fear into his enemies. Either way, the name stuck. Johnson lived the quintessential mountain man life, trapping, scouting, guiding wagon trains, and even serving as a lawman later on. He was a huge man by the standards of the day, tough as nails and known for his resourcefulness in the harsh Rocky Mountain winters. His story eventually became the inspiration for the movie Jeremiah Johnson, starring Robert Redford back in 1972, though Hollywood, of course, gave their own spin. Before we move on from the bloody bits to the smokier parts of the story, let's take a little breather and thank our friends at Lee's Bait and Tackle. If you're like Liver Eating Johnson and prefer your time out in nature, minus the liver eating, of course, you'll want to swing by Lee's before your next fishing trip. They make custom plastics, and I've said this before, but I will attest to the effectiveness of those plastics. You will definitely not be disappointed. And until Memorial Day, they are giving a 10% discount if you tell them the Pine Grove Briar sent you. So go check them out, and who knows, maybe you'll catch something worth bragging about at your next smoke session. So let's talk about those tall tales. Was Johnson really livers out on the frontier? Or was this just another example of Wild West storytelling gone wilder? Here's the thing. Men love to spin a good yarn, and nothing keeps folks talking like a gruesome nickname. Some say Johnson took the livers as a psychological tactic before the crow believed the soul couldn't rest if the liver was missing. Others think it was just pure campfire exaggeration. A guy who was so tough he had to have some terrifying backstory. But imagine Johnson after a long day of hunting or avenging, sitting by the fire with his pipe. Maybe he packed it with whatever tobacco he could trade for. Probably something strong and straightforward, like a no-nonsense burley blend. You can almost picture him, big, bearded, staring into the flames, pipe clenched between his teeth, muttering, "Some folks call me Liver-Eatin Johnson. You can just call me John." And really, isn't that how legends are born? Speaking of handcrafted toughness, go check out our friends at Sewell's Woodworks on Etsy. They have a variety of items, from 3D printed products to wood carved products. Go check them out. They take pride in every cut and every finish. Perfect for outfitting your smoke den or cabin in the woods. If you're living the Jeremiah Johnson life yourself, check them out and let them know you heard about them on the Pine Grove. So let's talk pipes. A guy like Johnson probably didn't have access to fine briars or exotic blends out in the Rockies. And I bet a sturdy corncob pipe or a rough-hewn hardwood pipe carved by his own hand. Something durable enough to survive harsh winters and rough travels. As for tobacco, mountain men smoked whatever they could trade for. Plug tobacco, twists, or even wild herbs if supplies ran low. I imagine he'd favor something strong and smoky, a bit like an old school burley or a dark fired Kentucky blend. Something to keep him company on those cold nights while the wolves howled in the distance. It's a humbling reminder of how far we've come when we're sitting in our cozy chairs with carefully curated blends. Makes you appreciate that next bowl just a little more, doesn't it? All right, so time for one of my favorite parts of our podcast, the Pine Grove Briar mailbag. First up, we've got Elizabeth from Cheyenne. Did Liver-Eatin Johnson really eat livers, or was it just a nickname? That's a great question. Like I mentioned earlier, historians are split on that one. Some say it was symbolic, others think it was just pure intimidation. Whether or not he actually did it, the name did its job. Folks stayed far away from him. Next is Jake from Tennessee. What type of pipe would Johnson have used out in the wilderness? Like I said, Jake probably like a something simple and rugged. Corncob pipes were cheap and they were easy to replace and perfect for a mountain man who didn't have access to fine briar imports. If he had time, he might have even carved his own out of local wood. Nothing fancy, just functional. Next, we've got Curtis from Louisiana. Were mountain men like Johnson known to smoke regularly, or was tobacco more of a luxury? Well, that's a good question, Curtis. Tobacco was both a comfort and commodity on the frontier. Mountain men would trade furs or services for tobacco whenever possible, and many kept plug tobacco on hand for those long nights in camp. It wasn't always easy to come by, but when you're living a life that tough, a good smoke was worth its weight in gold. Thanks everybody for the great questions. You just keep them coming. If you'd like to write in or just contact us with a simple thank you or a hello, just write in at pinegrovebriar@gmail.com. Again, that's pinegrovebriar@gmail.com. Folks, that's our deep dive into the life and legend of Liver-Eatin Johnson. Whether he truly ate livers or not, there's no denying he was a force to be reckoned with. A man of the mountains, survival, and vengeance. And in our little corner of imagination, the alternate universe of the Pine Grove Briar. Maybe he was a man who enjoyed a quiet pipe or reflecting on life in the wild. Again, I want to say a big thanks to our friends at the Gatlin Burler Tobacconists, Lee's Bait and Tackle, and Sewell's Woodworks. If you'd like to help support our show, drop us a line at pinegrovebriar@gmail.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to give us a rating, review the show, and don't forget to send in your questions for the next mailbag. Share with your fellow pipe smoking enthusiasts, and even if they're not a pipe smoking enthusiast, share it anyway. We would definitely appreciate it. So until next time, keep your pipes lit, your powder dry, and your stories true.